Vanishing Point, a novel by Keith A. Kenel, 49 of 101. Part 49. Youngling in hand and buffalo cauliflower before her, Carla inflated her cheeks and exhaled sharply. "Listen," she said, leaning forward and speaking in a conspiratorial volume. "If I tell you something that I've done that's, well, maybe not exactly legal, do you have to report me?" Stacy and Suzanne looked at one another, both women bringing their heads back and furrowing their brows. "Well," Stacy said, nodding slowly, "it just depends. We are mandatory reporters. That means that if we even suspect you may have done something that endangered Skylar, we have to report it. No exceptions. Would what you've done fall under that category?" The corners of Carla's mouth fell. Her eyes narrowed and her head tucked down toward her chin. "Oh, God, no! Or at least I sure as shit would say no. Exact opposite. What I've done is to protect Skylar. But it's why we can't go to the police. We just can't." Suzanne held up her left hand and said very slowly, "We want to help you and to keep Skylar safe," she said, leaving her hand up with only her index finger extended. "But you have to realize that we must act within the confines of the law. If you tell us things that we think need to be passed on to the authorities, we will. We must. There's no attorney-client privilege here." Carla's head jerked back in surprise. "You're an attorney? I didn't know that." Suzanne smiled and shook her head. "No, just an expression. I just wanted you to know that anything you say concerning Skylar's safety, we cannot keep to ourselves. Do you still want to tell us about this thing that you've done that you, as you said, may not exactly be legal?" I think I got to. I don't know what to do, and it's about Skylar, which is funny in a sick sort of way, because what I did was to tell her daddy that she was dead. Suzanne and Stacy again exchanged glances. "So, Stacy," Suzanne said, now holding up her hand in the classic stop position, "let's talk theoretically for just a moment, shall we?" Stacy tilted her head and raised her eyebrows. "Theoretically?" she repeated quizzically. "Oh, theoretically. Yes, let's, shall we? And it might be best if, for right now, you just listened. Do you understand, Carla?" Carla wrinkled her nose and crinkled her brow. "Maybe. Why don't you two talk for a bit and I'll listen?" "That's an excellent idea," Suzanne said, patting Carla's hand. "Let Stacy and me ruminate and reflect for a moment. Stacy, have you had any students who were in the sole custody of one parent?" "Well, sure," Stacy replied. "I mean, every year, right? But—" No, please, let me finish. And when one parent has sole custody of a child, then we have the right, actually a legal responsibility, to prevent the non-custodial parent from gaining access to the student, correct?" "Correct," Stacy replied guardedly, "but we have no responsibility to search for an absent parent if a couple is separated and we've only had interactions with one of the parents." "Well," Stacy said slowly, nodding her head, "that sounds right, though we'd have to comply with requests from both parents if there is joint custody." "Of course. But if we only have one parent listed as a guardian, we have no legal requirement to hunt down the wayward parent who is elected to not participate in his or her child's education." "Well, right, but I don't think—" No, again, please. Let me lay out my hypothetical case. If one parent is listed on all of our school forms and there are no restraining orders against the other, and separated parents have joint custody of a student, then we have no legal obligation to report this living arrangement as any kind of neglect nor abuse. Correct? I think that would be correct. Hypothetically? But as I said, if the heretofore absent parent requests information about his or her child, then we'd have to supply it. Of course. So, Carla, do you understand the conditions that apply to our purely theoretical exercise? Carla nodded slowly. "I think so. Yes." "Good. Now," Suzanne continued, "is there anything you'd like to tell us?" Carla exhaled, but this time her whole being seemed to deflate. "I think I have to. What would happen if, theoretically, while Caleb was in prison, I told him that Skylar died, and I told Skylar that her daddy died? What if I'd packed up the car, snatched Skylar, and just left? What if I left because I found out that my husband's a killer? I know he is, and I know that if he finds me, he'll kill me, and I don't know what he'd do to Skylar. Theoretically or not, I know that, and that's why we have to keep Caleb Ezra Morse away from my baby and away from me.